Well, Sue, welcome to Foundations for Life Principles Counseling Center.
Thank you.
I appreciate you doing the assessments and other things, that paperwork you've had to do before we get started.
Well, thank you.
But this is what we call our informed consent, and it's really important that we go through this together and that you understand it, because it kind of talks about type of treatment we do, our relationship. All those kind of things get covered in here,
The boundaries of our relationship.
the boundaries and everything. So it's important that we walk through this together. So I'm going to read it just so
Good.
I know we've kind of gone through it all together. Okay.
Okay.
Welcome to Foundations for Life Principles Counseling Services. Foundations for Life Principles has been in the business of assisting individuals and families to have successful relationships for over 20 years. Counseling services will be provided by a licensed therapist and/or therapist interns. All therapist interns are graduate students who are pursuing licensure as an LPC, an LMFT, or an LCSW, and will operate under the direct supervision of a licensed therapist. What that means is if you're going to be working with, say me for example, I'm a therapist intern. That means I'm your therapist, but there's somebody overseeing me so that I can ask questions to, they're making sure that I'm doing things the right way, that kind of thing. And it plays into this next paragraph a little bit. Since you may be working with one of our therapist interns, like myself, and their chosen specialty, we require permission to record audio and/or videotape interviews and to observe the treatment sessions, whether live or on video. The use of observation taping and supervision is crucial to your treatment and allows for instruction and/or supervisory input, ensuring the highest quality of service as possible. Please discuss any questions you might have about this with your therapist. Discussions which take place in therapy are confidential and thus cannot be shared without your written consent. Information about you or your family cannot be shared without your written consent. In order to protect client confidentiality, we adhere to the following procedures. Written, telephone, or personal inquiries will not be acknowledged without your consent. You must sign consent to release information before any information about you is given to anyone outside our office. Even then, we may advise you to withhold information if we feel it is in your best interest. All records, tapes, or other identifying materials are kept confidential as well. Okay. Any questions on this first page?
How can you ensure the confidentiality of my records, and especially the videotapes that you'll be making?
Okay, they're all in our office. They're all locked in file cabinets. We do use a database that is HIPAA compliant to type our notes in, to store some of that information, but otherwise everything is secured here and is not, people can't come in and just grab your information. It's locked and put away. It's not sitting out. So it's not available to anybody just to come and get. And then we do have to keep that for a time frame after we end therapy. But once that time frame is over, then we can go ahead and destroy that. And I believe that's 10 years.
Do I have access to my records?
You absolutely do. You absolutely do. If you will initial the bottom page, I'm going to have you initial each page as we go.
Did.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. How about the second page? We're still under that same heading though.
Mm-hmm.
There are some exceptions to the confidentiality policy, as we were just talking about. By law, there are specific limits to confidentiality. By the laws and regulations of the state of Tennessee, your confidentiality does not apply when there's clear and imminent danger to you or others. By court order, or when there is suspected child abuse or neglect. Your therapist will take reasonable steps to protect those at risk, including but not limited to warning any identified victims and informing the responsible authorities.
So if I tell you I'm gonna go out and kill somebody, you're gonna warn that person?
And
you're
the
gonna-
police.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fair enough.
Just because we don't want that to happen.
I agree.
Okay. The therapist you see will testify in any court proceeding if ordered by the judge. Okay. Any questions on those two? That makes sense?
No.
Okay. Additional rights and principles are outlined so that you may be informed before consenting to and practicing in individual couple or family therapy. Your therapist is bound by the AA MFT Code of Ethics, which we can get you a copy of if you were interested. And as part of the services offered, FLP may provide a packet of questionnaires and assessments to complete at the beginning, throughout the therapy relationship, and at the termination of therapy. These assessments are one way we use to monitor the outcomes of therapy process, and we request that you be honest in completing the forms, as this could facilitate the therapy process. Your therapist can answer any assessment questions you may have, and these will be completed as part of a therapeutic session or prior to your initial session. Some of those you've already done, but we would be doing those throughout our sessions. You have the right to confidentiality of records, as we were talking a minute ago. All identifying information about your assessment and treatment is confidential. Within the FLP offices, information regarding your case is shared only with therapist interns and or supervisors working together. Office staff is only associated with your case at intake and in the periodic auditing of case files and ensuring assessment completion. You have the right to ask questions about any administrative or clinical function, and specific questions about the clinical techniques and approaches are welcome. That all makes sense. That help answer the question you were asking earlier? A
Now,
little bit?
are you talking about auditors coming in and
No.
looking at your files?
No, we're talking about our staff has to go into the files periodically and make sure everything's there.
Self-audit.
Yeah, self-audit.
Okay.
Underneath mental health, there are regulations we have to follow. So because of that, we have to make sure that those files are in proper shape and done properly. And that's for your protection. About therapy. Most likely you're here to change something about yourself and or your relationship, which is great. So let's get started. It's important to remember that therapy is a process that unfolds over time and is based on a collaborative partnership between a therapist and a client. It provides an opportunity to better and more deeply understand oneself, as well as any problems or difficulties you may be experiencing. In therapy, you and your therapist will look at you. This includes, but is not limited to, your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors, your history, your choices, and your relationships. This takes time, and if you're willing to complete the questionnaires, as well as any potential assessments, we can move more quickly through the early stages of therapy. Okay, in the first few sessions, here's kind of what we'll do. We'll decide if we wish to work together, collect and assess information about you and your background. We'll define the goals we will pursue in therapy. Okay, if we decide to work together, we'll proceed with the goals in mind, referring to them periodically to evaluate our progress and maybe even add to them, change them, or modify them along the way. Again, they're your goals. So we're here to help you. So if they need to change because you're changing, then we need to change them as we go. If we discover that accomplishing your goals involve unintended consequences for you and or those close to you, we'll monitor and discuss this. During the course of therapy, many clients find that they feel worse before they feel better. This is generally a common course of events. Personal growth and change may be easy and swift at times, but may also be slow and frustrating. FLP therapists encourage you to address any concerns you have regarding your progress in therapy with your therapist.
Will we be assessing ourselves from time to time?
Yes, actually,
Assessing
depending
the
on who your
goals.
therapist is, you'll be assessing the goals on a regular basis, as well as, like if you were to work with me, one of the things that we will probably do is we'll do an initial quick assessment before every session and at the end of every session.
Okay.
And they're real simple forms, but it allows us to make sure we're on track and that
Right.
you're feeling good about what's happening in therapy. Okay? Not now, but most likely in the future, your therapist will suggest you do something. Homework. I know you're not in grade school anymore, but between appointments, it's helpful. This can involve reading, writing a journal, initiating conversation with your physician or other healthcare providers, and or your partner. Doing a specific exercise, practicing new behaviors, all those things can come into play. Okay? The purpose of this is really threefold. These assignments will help deepen what we're doing in therapy, but they'll also act as a bridge between appointments. That way you're thinking about what we talked about in between sessions, which increases the effectiveness of our therapy together. Okay, any questions about therapy? Okay, now I think this one is important but doesn't really apply to you.
Right.
So I'm just gonna briefly mention it because we're not working in a couple situation. But when a couple does enter into counseling, it is considered to be one unit. So we do adhere to a strict no secrets policy. So whatever is said individually in therapy with your therapist, as well as your couple, as well as when you're together in therapy, we would share those things. We wouldn't allow for secrets to be there. Okay?
Makes everybody accountable, doesn't it?
It does. Now again, it doesn't apply to your particular situation, but it is something that we will follow. Okay? Now teletherapy, which is video therapy. This is a great option sometimes when life circumstances causes you not to be able to meet in person. Say you're on vacation, but you want to keep your therapy session, we could do it online. Our software database that we use has a HIPAA compliant video system so that we could actually chat online and nobody would be able to hack into it or see it or know that it's happening. And it's not recorded when we do that. Okay? But that is an option for you as well. If like I said, you're going to be out of town or something, but you still want to maintain your sessions. All right, now this is the part nobody really likes to talk about, but kind of have to, so we all know what the expectation is, right?
If you don't pay, you don't get well.
You don't. So fees, payment, additional services, and length of appointments. The usual and customary fee for service is $130 per 50-minute session. The therapist reserves the right to adjust this fee, and you will be notified of any fee adjustment in advance. FLP accepts cash, credit card, PayPal, and Apple Pay. It is required that we have a credit card on file. In the event a fee must be charged and you are not present. Okay. Other services the therapist may provide to you, such as home visits, including travel time, attendance at meetings, or telephone conversations longer than 10 minutes, or other services you may request, are billed on a prorated basis based off the usual and customary hourly fee in 30-minute increments. Additional services provided on your behalf for reasons not related to your immediate treatment with your therapist, for example, communication to another provider, such as an attorney, other services, this does not include court, will be charged at the usual and customary hourly rate at the time of provision of said services. You are also responsible to pay a fee of 25 cents per page and $25 an hour for any clerical services to photocopy, collate, and or mail documents. And then if you need that, please allow 5 business days for that to be processed. Okay? And you will be charged when these services are rendered with the card you have left on file, unless you make other arrangements at the time of the request.
Okay.
All appointments are 50 minutes long, unless you request a longer appointment. If appointments are longer than 50 minutes, then there will be an increase in fee. Please be on time or early. I will work hard to start your appointment on time. There are times, although rare, when I will start the appointment later than scheduled. If that happens, you will get the full 50 minutes. If you are late to our appointment, then we will start once you arrive and use the remainder of your time. And when I am seeing a couple, doesn't apply to you, but just we'll begin once both partners are present. Okay? And then I do prefer to get the business done at the start of the appointment, which includes the payment and scheduling the next appointment, so that we can use the remaining time for you. Any questions on those fees and services? No? And you understand we'll keep a credit card on file. That's okay?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Canceling appointment. We ask for a minimum of 48 hours advance notice if you cannot keep a previously scheduled appointment. This courtesy allows me to plan my schedule effectively and accommodate other clients' requests. In the event you cancel your appointment, you must pay a late cancellation fee. The amount of the late cancellation fee is your regular fee for one session.
And that's if you're in the 48 hours, not...
Correct.
Okay.
That's if you're within the 48 hours. It is also my policy that if you no-show to an appointment, meaning you do not call me or let me know you cannot make the appointment, do not come to your appointment, and your appointment is still on my calendar, I charge a no-show fee. The amount of the no-show fee is your regular fee for one session. Okay? And you are agreeing to have the credit card that you have left on file to be charged for the fee stated above in the event there's a no-show or cancellation has occurred. Okay. Court testimony. We're almost done. Hang in there.
Oh, we're good.
FLP counseling services. does not perform court-related evaluations for child custody, nor do we testify in hearings involving child custody issues. In addition, we do not appear voluntarily at any court or administrative hearing. If you, your attorney, choose to subpoena an FLP therapist or personnel for court testimony, including depositions or administrative hearings, you will be charged $100 per hour for any preparation time FLP personnel spends getting ready to appear, and $750 per 4-hour block of time our personnel spend being on call to testify, traveling to and from court, waiting to appear, and or testifying. These charges will apply even if FLP personnel are ultimately excused from testifying. The minimum charge will be for 4 hours of time, and subsequent time will be billed in 4-hour blocks. By signing this agreement, you agree to pay these charges. Should it become necessary for FLP to commence collection proceedings or retain an attorney to collect any fees due hereunder, you agree to pay the attorney fees and costs of collection incurred by FLP. Does that all make sense, the court stuff? Okay.
We're not going to court. Right?
Good, but we have to share it with you anyway, so you understand our
Okay.
policies. Gifts, because the therapeutic relationship you are entering into is a professional one, all therapists and office staff are not allowed to give or receive gifts from clients during holidays or any other occasion, event, or dates.
Okay.
Okay? Email, social media. By nature, therapy is confidential. You have the confidence that your insights, vulnerable experiences, and feelings will not be repeated outside the therapeutic relationship established. By nature, email correspondence is not confidential. Though internet security measures can be effective, it's never 100% seal-proof. So our policy regarding email usage is as follows. Email correspondence with me is not secure. Email correspondence is not a substitute for person-to-person therapeutic treatment, unless discussed with me in advance and in person. Email correspondence will not play a part in your therapy. I will not respond to your emails in general. Anything stated in an email from you will be discussed in session and in session only. Email correspondence is not to be used in the case of an emergency to contact me. If you need to contact me with something that demands immediate attention, you'll do so by voicemail at the number your therapist provides you, call 911, or go to the emergency room. If it becomes necessary, I will terminate treatment if email usage is or becomes inappropriate. Okay? Also, FLP therapists do not accept friend requests from current or former clients on any social media platform. Again, preserving your confidentiality and our professional relationship is a major responsibility to FLP, and we believe that if you and your therapist were social media friends, it could blur the relationship. That make sense?
It does.
Okay, excellent. Minors and confidentiality. Communication between therapists and clients who are minors are confidential. However, parents and other guardians who provide authorization for their child's treatment are often involved in their consent. Consequently, your therapist, in the exercise of his or her professional judgment, may discuss the treatment progress of a minor client with the parent or guardian. Clients who are minors and their parent are urged to discuss any questions or concerns they have on this topic with their therapist. Okay, we'll get to the last, we're almost done.
Right.
Records and record keeping. This basically tells you that your therapist will take notes during sessions, and will also produce other notes and records regarding your treatment. These notes constitute our clinical and business records, which by law, FLP is required to maintain. Should you request a copy of my records, such a request must be made in writing. FLP reserves the right, under Tennessee law, to provide you with a treatment summary in lieu of actual records. FLP will maintain your records for 10 years following termination of therapy. However, after 10 years, your records will be destroyed in a manner that preserves your confidentiality.
Okay, say we stop treatment and I wanna look up something in my records and it's not 10 years afterwards. Can I make an appointment with your office, come by and read my own records?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then any incurring fees as are laid out here would
Okay.
apply. Insurance information. Setting realistic treatment goals requires evaluating what resources are available to pay for your therapy. If you belong to a managed care organization or have major medical benefit policy, you may have some coverage for certain mental health treatment procedures. FLP counseling services are provided and charged to you, not your insurance company or managed care organization. Although FLP can supply forms that may facilitate your receipt of the benefits to which you're entitled, you, not your insurance company or managed care organization, are responsible for full payment of the fee as agreed upon at the time of service. Okay, there's all kinds of different types of third-party reimbursement. FLP can make no guarantee that any particular company will provide payment for the services you receive. Please note, most third-party reimbursement plans require you to authorize your therapist to provide a formal diagnosis of a mental health disorder and at least one of the individuals involved in therapy. Sometimes they require additional clinical information such as a treatment plan or case summary. In rare cases, they request a copy of your entire record, which I will not release without your explicit written authorization. This information will become part of the insurance company files in all probability. Some of it will be computerized. All insurance companies claim to have such information confidential. However, once it is out of our hands, FLP has no control over what they do with this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. We just want to make sure you understand them.
Okay.
Termination of therapy. In your initial sessions, you and your therapist should pay careful attention to whether or not you're comfortable working together. In addition, part of the therapist's responsibility includes assessing if the services they are offering can be helpful to you. If you have any questions about the therapist's work or procedures, please discuss them whenever they arise. If your doubts persist, you are free to seek an opinion from another mental health professional or to terminate therapy at any time. If you have already scheduled an appointment, the cancellation policy is still in effect. FLP therapists reserve the right to terminate therapy at their discretion. Reasons for termination include, but are not limited to, untimely payment of fees, fail to comply with treatment recommendation, conflicts of interest, fail to participate in therapy, needs are outside the scope of competence or practice, or a client is not making adequate progress in therapy. If either of us decides to terminate therapy, the therapist will generally recommend that you participate in at least one or possibly two more termination sessions. These sessions are intended to facilitate a positive termination experience and give you and the therapist the opportunity to reflect on the work that has been done. The therapist will also attempt to ensure a smooth transition to another therapist by offering referrals if requested. Okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Last part, complaints. You have the right to have your complaints heard and resolved in a timely manner. If you have a complaint about your treatment, please inform the therapist immediately so we can discuss and resolve the situation. If you feel a breach in ethics or legal standard has occurred, you may contact the licensing board, and this can be done by calling the number stated. Now, if you agree with all of that, final paragraph. I have read this information fully and completely. I've discussed any questions I had about the information, and I understand the information. I acknowledge that it is my choice to participate in psychotherapy or have my child participate. I realize that the outcome of therapy depends upon my personal investment in the therapy process. I familiarized myself with the fees and charges for services provided by FLP Counseling Services, and I understand and agree that the therapeutic services rendered will be charged to me and not to any third-party payer. I acknowledge responsibility for payment of services at time rendered. Do you agree? Awesome. Go ahead and sign one of those lines and date it, and then I will sign it. I know it's a lot of information to go over.
I know it's 2020, but what is today? January the...
22nd.
Okay, I lost track this week. There you go.
All right. And then we will make a copy of this for you, so
Thank
that you
you.
can have a copy of it as
Yes.
well, okay? Awesome, thank you. Oh, I'm gonna have you initial the bottom of this page. All right, thank you, Sue. This part is out of our way.